Hello, hello. Hi, everybody. Hi, my meatball. Hello, Jack Waters. So nice that you're here. Uh, I probably won't be sharing anything too enlightening for you if you are specifically in Utah. Hi, Lootfisk. Hi, Samantha. Hello. Hi, Kat. Thank you guys so much for being here. Hi, Turkle Tom. Hello. So, I've told you guys that I have been in communication kind of on the back end with a, Mormon LDS whistleblower specifically. Uh, their situation, they're doing what they need to do for themselves and their family. They have asked me, as I said before, to continue to, get this story out there. And they know that I'm coming at it from a bit of a different angle. But then today I had another person that I've met through Instagram and have been in communication with who sent me another person who is specifically requesting that I kind of talk about this more in this way. Now, I do already have Twitter threads on this. However, I'm not expecting anybody to go, hi, JD Lotus, hello. I'm not expecting anybody to go dig through my Twitter. What we're going to do is we are going to look through some of my threads because most people know about Tim Ballard and OUR, and that is absolutely a part of it. But also, there's the whole situation with the Leavitt family specifically, and the gentleman that has so many names: Nicholas Rossi, Nicholas Alahverdian, um, and I think Arthur Knight or Arthur McKnight. He's an international man of mystery. Hi, Soil Lodge. Hello. And this guy specifically, the name that I mentioned in the title, he is the individual that I tied. He's got ties to the Franklin scandal, not as a perpetrator, but as a victim. Uh, so this is just a big circle of very, very, very bad things, in my opinion. Today is not going to be super extensive. I just want to show you guys what I've done already. That way you can see where my thought process was, because then I'm going to just drop in and I'll show you guys one of the foundational researchers that was on this from day one. Uh, I avoided it the entire time when I was looking into all of this, but because my work has kind of taken me elsewhere, and this person is obviously much more familiar with a bit of an insider take, so to speak, I think that they will be the best resource as far as deep research. Rick Ross. No, it's Nick Rossi. Hi, Tom Cooper. Hello. I hope you're having a great day as well. So, in exciting news, I get to run my old intro. Remember? Because it's totally appropriate for this. Hey, Lisa Solis. Hello. All right, so let's play the old intro, my OG one.
Your falling face first in the ground. Don't wanna think, but I see you. A faded place, a love I found. How you're so far in my dreams too. I can't change your past. Could you hear me laugh more? I can't change your path. Will you stay one last song?
Have you ever met a guy like me? Have you ever met a man with a plan like me? Have you ever seen someone turn none to someone who got the world tucked up in their hand like me? I can never change my faith, I can never hold hands, give God my grace. I can never not cry when I see your face. You say I got a lot on my plate, girl, I see that. 100 mil in the safe, no I need that. See a smile on your face, yeah I need that. No, I'm trying to get the cake that can take me to the place that'll make me feel safe. I don't need that. Tell me about the way you felt. I can tell you about the things that I said myself. I got a lot of demons sitting on my shelf.
All right. Hello, hello. That guy that says Utah, that's David Leavitts specifically. So I'll just give you a little bit of backstory, because again, this was requested, and this is something, this case I have kept in the back of my mind. Hello, Stella Q. Hi, and hello, Echo Cat. So glad that you're here. And hi, Don Lambert. Hello, hello. I remember seeing in the news, and it was a satanic ritual abuse case out of Utah. And I said, "What in the fresh hell is this?" And this was a while back. And your guys are gonna see that, my thread. I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. It was literally my first thread. Hi, David Tooley. Hello. Um, but obviously, when you see something saying satanic ritual abuse, that's major red flags. What the hell is going on? And I ended up taking more of a page from the Franklin scandal, specifically Nick Bryant, because obviously there was a lot of collusion with the police departments. And when I show you guys Nicholas Alahverdian, Nicholas Rossi, Arthur Knight, whatever you want to call him, um, this case specifically reminds me very much of the Franklin scandal in the aspect of Nicholas sort of, he's the fall guy in my opinion, and I don't really understand why. Well, I sort of do, but he's sort of the Paul Bonacci in this situation, except for it's way less fanatical and it is way less conspiratorial. Yes, Lutefisk, he absolutely has, and I avoided his research the entire time because I did not want to take anything from him. So you guys are just going to see like what I found specifically, because I did not get into the stuff with the therapist that ended up coming out, and I know that that did come out. There were only two things that I think that I, uncovered, and it's like not even that I uncovered it, you know what I'm saying? There were just two strange things that I was able to sort of tie in independently, but a light correction on the pronunciation. Leavitt is pronounced Levitt. Kevin. Oh, thank you so much, Jack Waters. I appreciate it. Levitt. Is this the one in, I think it is Utah County. I'm pretty sure, Bug Dude. Yeah, I think that it is. Um, yeah, Lutefisk, I just kind of wanted to see like where my brain would go. You know what I mean? And honestly, kind of taking the Nick Bryant approach, then you see, I'm going to show you guys in my thread, like the Rhode Island State Police are seriously like, I don't know, those dudes are seriously dangerous. And some of this stuff, strangely enough, ties into the Mandalay Bay attack. Because all of these things just seem to somehow have like really weird crossovers. I don't know. The mob ties in. It's really intense. But let me see where I want to start, because all of my old files are on a external hard drive. And like I said, this is really more so just kind of showing you guys what I was doing. So I'm going to show you a really old Desiree News article just so you guys can see where this started, the actual origins. And I'm going to show you Bishop Glenn Pace, his statement that he put out. I kind of mentioned it previously where, I got very emotional because I felt that he was seriously at a loss of what to do for his flock, I guess, because he details how many victims came forward and that he didn't know what to do. And the whistleblower that I was speaking with, he showed me some videos of Bishop Pace before and after this happened. And he said that he felt like he was just kind of watching this man sort of be defeated, watching that happen from the pulpit, so to speak. And I could see it as well, just as someone who's never met him, but you could tell that there was something different. Like, in my opinion, it was almost like he knew that he was going up against something that he was not going to be able to defeat. And it's very unfortunate. But let me show you this old Desiree News article first, because the old news stuff helps, right? Let me make sure you guys can see that because I keep moving these things in the wrong direction. Oh, very good. Sorry, guys. Give me a second. All right. So goodbye ads. Thank you. All right. So this is from October 25th in 1991. Church evaluating reports of satanic cults in Utah. So right here. There we go. So officials from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints said they are evaluating reports that satanic cults dedicated to sexually abusing children are operating within the church. The issue arose Thursday with TV news reports about an internal church memo suggesting that as many as 800 people may be involved in the practice along the Wasatch Front. Satanic worship and ritualistic abuse are problems that have been around for centuries and are international in scope. While they are numerically not a problem of major proportions among members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, for those who may be involved, they are serious. And I would agree. Now, I knew I was going to forget something, and I may be able to find it while I'm on here with you guys. If you don't mind waiting, it'll come up a little bit later. But when I was doing this research, I found a really fascinating article in the archives where, when this was going on in Utah, when this first came out, they were stating, the ritualistic part of this abuse, the satanic aspect of it specifically, is almost like a mask. It's a mask. Now, obviously, some of those people do believe in it, right? But just like I've kind of, tried to show you guys with the Process Church of the Final Judgment, it's an intelligence front. So do they all necessarily believe in those things? No, but they know that there are people who do, right? So what is the thing that would make kids literally sound completely insane? Yeah. Satanic ritual abuse. That would make kids sound completely insane, especially if they're saying that someone from their church that people trust are doing that, are involved in that. When you add in like the hoods and the robes and the animal sacrifices and all of just the completely insane stuff, yeah, of course it's unbelievable. And of course it's easy to dismiss kids as crazy. And quite frankly, it's kind of genius if, you're an evil genius, right? And you want to make kids sound as unbelievable as possible. Now I'm going to show you the memo from Bishop Pace really quick. Right. So, there we go. And obviously this is and this does, go back here in this report. Right here it says that he met with 60 victims. And right here, 53 are female, 7 are male, 8 are children. It occurred in Utah, Idaho, California, Mexico, and other places. 53 victims are currently living in the state of Utah. All 60 are members of the church. 45 allege witnessing and or participating in human sacrifices. The majority were abused by relatives, often their parents. All have developed psychological problems, and most have been diagnosed as having multiple personality disorder or some other form of dissociative disorder, right? And I do think that I think he did a good job. You guys have seen my stuff about, the false memory syndrome, specifically, abuse and the splitting of the mind, right? We've talked about a lot of that. So ritualistic child abuse is the most hideous of all child abuse. And he does state the objective is premeditated to systematically and methodically torture and terrorize children until they are forced to dissociate. The torture is not a consequence of the loss of temper, but the execution of well-planned, well-thought-out rituals often performed by close relatives. The only escape is to disassociate. And I want to see where he says that they were, because obviously some of this gets really graphic. And I have the 250 pages of victim testimony. I'm not going to be going into that anytime soon because I don't know. Some of that stuff, I don't really know. I don't even really know if I want to come on here and talk about it in great detail. But let me see. This is just, he really does try to lay it out the best that he can. I think that he was really trying to care for these victims. I think that his heart was in the right place. But he just didn't know what to do. So right here, this was the big, like, what's up with this? So the occult, occult along the Wasatch Front. So the Wasatch Front, when I looked into that, people were telling me as I was making my threads on Twitter, like, hey, don't get too lost there, because apparently Twin Peaks is a real place. But that's why I kind of used it in the thumbnail just as sort of like a joke. But it's the actual Twin Peaks, which are near the Wasatch Front from everything that I could find on the map. And again, I've told you guys, like, specifically with the Best Friends Animal Society, right? The property that they own is where people have been hunting for Montezuma's gold. So, I do think that sometimes, for whatever reason, if it has to do with occultism, what have you, uh, the land can be very important as far as, what you are trying to accomplish. Now, let me see which thread I want to start in, because, I mean, you guys will see I literally had no idea what I was doing. Give me 2 seconds, because my old threads were so ghetto. But look at how I've grown. Yeah, look at how I've grown. Okay, so we will just start. We'll just pick this first tweet right here, because I didn't want to have to dig up all of these old articles, because back then when I was making my threads, I was just using like a screenshot of the news article, and people were like, hey, it would be super helpful if you shared the link so we could read the article. And I said, wow, that's a great idea, but I don't have a blue check, so now I have to start all over. So let me show you the headline that kind of grabbed my attention. Yeah. So I don't know if you guys have seen any of these clips in regards to Levitt, not Leavitt, Levitt. But yes, this is in Utah County. So he was the Utah County attorney. And what had happened was him and the sheriff kind of had these PR press briefings sort of back and forth for whatever reason. Specifically, this gentleman, Mr. Lovett, decided to come out and make a statement that he and his wife, Shalom, are not involved in this type of abuse, and made it seem like this was a political move or a PR move on behalf of the sheriff. The sheriff came out that same day and said, we have not announced anything specific. We were not going to name any names. We're still not going to. But this dates back to what I just showed you guys. And they said that new victims had come forward and that these claims were legitimate. They were not unfounded. Now, right here, you will see. The rumors started on YouTube when Nicholas Rossi, an American who has been accused of faking his death and escaping to Scotland to evade those charges in Utah, posted videos in which he accused Leavitt and his wife of leading a ritual sexual abuse cult. Leavitt was overseeing an effort to extradite and prosecute Rossi. Now, from what I understand, most of the true crime community refers to him as Arthur Knight, I believe. Most of the podcasts that I have seen, most of the shows that I have seen, and that is why I titled this as True Crime as Propaganda, because I have listened to so many podcasts that mock this man. You can tell that they did not look into his story whatsoever as far as Mr. Knight Rossi Alahverdian. I did a really deep dive because that story didn't make sense to me. How can you, fake your death, right, and escape to Scotland? Like, they just make that sound so easy, and it's so passive. And isn't it strange that David Lovett is, all of a sudden finding these DNA kits, right, that have been untested? Because I'm going to show you guys specifically, he closed down their sexual crimes unit for budget reasons. But then all of a sudden, when this stuff starts coming out, then, all of a sudden it's time to test all those backlogs. Yeah. And well, it's obviously this man in Scotland who was speaking out against him, right? But when you dig into him specifically, you'll see, because literally this mirrors the Page Boy scandal, it mirrors the Franklin scandal, it mirrors the Callboy scandal. Like, it's just extremely horrific, and I don't know. I think it's a shame on the true crime community for not digging in a little harder. Keep in mind, I haven't looked into this since June specifically, so I could be speaking out of turn because, again, I haven't done a deep dive on this since that time. But let me pull up the big thread, the longest one that I did. Because, like I said, this is just an overview, guys, just to kind of like get everybody's beak wet, because now I am going to take part of my time and my research in kind of reorganizing this without taking anybody else's work. You know, if I find something from them, I'll say, here, you guys can go and look at that. But I'm just going to show you what I found specifically. I grew up in Levittown, Pennsylvania, housing created for Korean War vets. And I grew up around God, I'm sorry, Don Lambert. That's terrible. They had a big investigation back in the day, but the morgue swept it under the rug. The current prophet was credibly accused of molesting his daughter. Are you talking about... It's okay, ivermectin. I'm glad you're here. Are you talking about right now the president, Lutefisk? Ballard? Mr. Ballard, specifically? Funny how the guilty try to get ahead of it. Yeah, it was a really wild take watching that bug dude where he's like, me and my wife don't eat children. And I'm like, wow, what a move. Let's see how it works out for him. Yeah, didn't work out so well. Well, I mean, I guess it did. I don't really know. Because I've talked to Nicholas Alahverdian / Rossi / Arthur Knight. I've talked to his attorney, and I'm like, I believe your client. I believe him, straight up. Did he fake his death? I don't know. There's just so many complexities, but the way that it's written off is just kind of bizarre. All right, so while I am waiting for Lutefisk to answer me, let's go ahead and pop open my literal first thread on Twitter. And if you guys follow my Twitter, then you'll know that this is a little bit OG. So... hold on. I also have to tell you guys this, because this might not make a lot of sense, right? So I had no idea, and I'm not kidding. You guys got to keep in mind, during COVID, I was on the road a lot, right? Like, I was traveling as an ICU nurse. So I didn't have time for like any of this. I was working like between 48 and 60 hours a week, working crisis jobs. I did not know what Operation Underground Railroad was. I did not know who Tim Ballard was. I didn't really know what QAnon was, or Q. Like, I kind of heard things, but I didn't really know. And then when I got home, then I found out what it was, because then I started getting phone calls from one of my parents talking about 3 days of darkness, and everybody's a body double, and there's the Vatican is holding everybody's birth certificates as blood collateral, like all of these super crazy things, and I'm like, what the heck is going on? So I had not at that time looked into it, but once I started looking into this Leavitts Alahverdian thing, then I saw the stuff with Ballard, and I was like, oh no, this is what my mom has been watching, and she thinks that it's real. Because I'll tell you guys right now, I'm not here to be rude to anybody, but as far as like Tim Ballard, Operation Underground Railroad, and I, my main focus when I was looking at all of this specifically was primarily more so Lovett and Alahverdian, because I think that Alahverdian is innocent of the things that they are. Some of the things at a bare minimum that they're trying to charge him of. However, the stuff with Tim Ballard, like, that's all a joke. And I think that the stuff that's coming out about Tim Ballard now, obviously here in this country, you get to go in front of a judge, and It's a jury of your peers, right? But he's upper echelon within that organization. And so these people do get special treatment. It is what it is. It's just a fact. I think that entire operation was basically sort of a visual operation. You know what I mean? Uh, so that people would think that things are being done. And in my opinion, because he's really, really bad about proving anything, and he is. Uh, I think that he's showing everybody like what he can get away with, right? Because there's some really old Vice articles when Vice used to actually do good journalism back in the day, and they go hard against him and they rip through all of that because apparently he was live streaming to international donors during these rescues. And it's like, excuse me, that's such a violation of the victim's rights and privacy. Why are you streaming that to people that are literally paying? Seems a little voyeuristic and a little bit sick, right? But that's just my 2 cents. Let me see. That must have been such a shock. When I figured out who Tim Ballard was and what OUR was, I literally had like a mental breakdown. I was just like bawling my eyes out for like an hour and a half, and I was like, this is what people have been watching. But then it made sense because there was something to go along with what do they call that stuff? Like the dumbs, like the tunnels underground, right? Like, we're getting the kids out of the dumbs. And I'm like, do you people actually believe that the government is sharing coordinates of airplanes where they're picking up kids on Twitter and Facebook? Wow. Wow. That's amazing. Ballard is ex-CIA. So Vice had the brass set to reach out to the CIA, I guess, and they inquired about his ties. And specifically, they said that they would confirm or deny if he signed a waiver. He refused. So I thought that that was interesting. As an Aussie, you can keep Mel Gibson. Yeah, I'm good on that. I'm good on all of these people. Will at CBC has shredded Ballard's credibility several times. Are you talking about Cold Beer Confessional specifically, Bug Dude? And I hope you're not a dude. What do you mean? Oh, went to the ladies. Well, I was trying to figure out what you were asking, Lutefisk specifically. The question has gone off of the screen, but yeah, I think that Ballard is extremely sus, and everybody that is tied into him as well. Because gosh, who is it? Tony Robbins. Like Tony Robbins is tied to them. Tony Robbins is tied to Oprah. Oprah's tied to John of God. John of God was, taking teenagers and using them as slaves and selling their babies. That's why John of God is facing, like, I think he got sentenced to like 400 years in prison. Yeah, Oprah had that dude on her show, right? And little Miss Marina Abramovic, who, Slava, she's the representative for Slava now. Yeah, that's who they brought on. So that's really insane to me. People can think that this is all like crazy conspiracy stuff, but honestly, like, these people are disgusting, and there's just a lot of things wrong here. You know what I mean? So I don't really know. Hola, everyone, catching up on chipmunk speed. Yeah, I don't think that you're missing out on too much. Like I said, this is just primarily an overview. So now you know that I had no idea what Q was, or Tim Ballard, or OUR, and it kind of broke my brain when I found out, because I realized that while COVID broke my brain in its own way as a nurse, that people were locked at home, and certain generations that don't understand what the Franklin scandal is or didn't pay attention to it, Epstein and Ghislaine and that island, and understanding that people had enough money for an island to go and do things like that to children with people that they had affection for on TV and politicians and, fat cats of Wall Street, these people that seem very untouchable. That broke their brain, and then COVID locked them into their house with a broken brain. And then all of a sudden, we're getting, GPS coordinates from these government airplanes where they're rescuing kids from tunnels underground, right? Tell me that that is not a hell of a psyop. That is my conspiracy theory about all of that. But let's move on. Now, so in this thread, obviously, I'm new to threads, so I'm, trying to lay out specifically, this whole LDS sort of powerhouse that we have going on here. Because again, I didn't know what Tim Ballard was. I look back at this and I'm just like, man, I was such a noob. But I remember like my mind was so blown. I was just like, who is this fraud? Right? Because I'm going to show you guys the Leavitts, what I call their empire as far as their NGO, because it is super sus, because it's all in Ukraine. It's all in Ukraine. And again, I'm not focusing on this too much right now, but they had closed the investigation. I think that this is all very weird as far as his choice of language. Just the slavery and blah, 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 this and that. Now, this, people can tell me that I'm people could say X, Y, and Z. When I was looking into this, M. Russell Ballard, the president of Quorum of the 12 Apostles of the Church of LDS, that's the same last name. I looked everywhere to try and find the name of all of his children. I've also tried to find the name of Tim Ballard's parents. So to me, and I could be wrong, and I'd be happy to be wrong, but I would like to see proof. Not just them saying that they're not related. Because to me, I think that, because the president, M. Russell Ballard, is the great-grandson of Joseph F. Smith, great-great-grandson of Hiram Smith, and great-great-nephew of Prophet Joseph Smith. That is the original prophet, yeah? And right here, the Ballards are, according to, let me see. Wait, no, here we go. Sorry, guys, I gotta click around on this. Obviously, if you guys know anything about Utah and the LDS, there is Brigham Young University. And right here, this is David Leavitt's brother, Michael Leavitt. So he worked under George Bush, specifically in I think this is Homeland Security, right? I don't know what that full title is. And he also helped out with Mitt Romney's presidential run. Yeah. Now, I had cited that speech specifically from President Ballard a while back because this documentary, all of this stuff had started coming out about what was going on with Warren Jeffs. And they said specifically, let me see if I can just click on this and if it's going to open up, share this tab instead. Let's see if this will load, guys. Trying to go a little bit easier. Yeah, there we go. Let's see if this will come up, or did they kill the link? It looks like they didn't. Okay, here we go. Let's see. Jeffs. Come on. Load, please. Hold, please. Let's see. I wonder if they killed it. Yeah, this isn't loading. All right, so let's kick out of here. Did this bring me back up? Hello. All right, let me try again. Sorry, guys. I'm trying to like it quicker with moving through screens, yeah? So, what they had said, the highly publicized arrest of Warren Jeffs was leading to more misinformation than we could have imagined. That this group in Texas is somehow connected to us, and of course, they're not. This is a very difficult public affairs challenge. Obviously, I'm not getting in the weeds here, and I think that the true crime documentaries are PR cash cows that allow these types of things to continue. Yeah? Now here, and again, sorry guys, this is me running through my Twitter threads. This is not a deep dive. This is me literally getting my beak wet for the people that asked who know what I've covered on this. But the Leavitts, their nonprofit, Because look at what a dork I was. I'm just like, oh, these screenshots are going to cut it, right? So, let me see if I can zoom in on this. Nope, I can't. Okay. Hold on. Dang it. There's so many things popping up in this chat. Hold on. I want to see what you guys are saying. True Crime Garage podcast has occult sigils, and the guy started talking about conjuring up ideas on what happened. It didn't used to be Janice. Really, Aaron, girl? True Crime Garage is doing that? Are you serious? Dang, Don Lambert, that's crazy. That they're your ancestors. That's wow. Yeah, see, that's what I'm saying, Lutefisk. Like they have to be relatives. I'm sorry. Like I want to see receipts. I want to see receipts. Ever listen to Jeffers Voices? Mormon cult used to use guys to do work, make money, and women all dress alike and do rituals in front of each other. Sick. And Michael Leavitt was also the former governor of Utah. Yes, he was, Jack Waters. Yeah, it seems like there's a bit of nepotism as far as the Leavitts specifically, because I found their NGO as far as like tracking their heritage, because they founded Utah as a Mormon state. That's what I was able to find. My brother-in-law was a Mormon FBI agent right behind of Warren Jeff's arrest. Wow, Tiffany Washington, that's fascinating. Seriously, that's very fascinating. Then there's the whole Marshall Island women being used as surrogates to sell babies to people in Utah. Yes, Aaron, girl, that was where I left off, was that whole weird adoption thing. Like, this is such a loaded topic. Such a loaded topic. It really is. And like I said, I am not here to do like a super deep dive. I just kind of want to show everybody what I had found at that time, because it may very well be in another thread. I think it is. Hold on. Let me look him up really quick, because Michael Leavitt specifically, ooh, dang it. Hold on. Give me a second, guys. Yeah, Michael Leavitt, the Leavitt Institute. Yeah, there we go. Sorry, y'all. I didn't even think about how I was going to really bounce around, because, wow, my Twitter threads were complete trash back in the day. Huh, imagine that. Let me see. That was Bush, right? So Michael Leavitt under Bush, because the gal involved in Ukraine 3000, she was the president of the former Ukraine, or she was the wife of the former Ukrainian president. Who am I looking for? Michael Leavitt, Bush, Ukraine. There we go. And let's see. Let me see. Let me see who was the secretary. Ukraine. Sorry, guys. I'm so sorry. I really wanted to do this today because I had like 2 people reach out to me today specifically. Maybe I'll come back to it, because obviously this is bringing up everything that we're doing now, right? But yeah, this isn't going to show me any pictures of anybody. Let me look at the photos. This is the last thing I'm going to click, and then we're getting back on track. Let me see. Mike Leavitt ended up as Secretary of the Interior under Bush, I think. I worked construction with several of the FLDS Lost Boys, guys that had been kicked out and didn't know anything else. The cop that got Jeffs was just a lucky catch for a driving violent, is how he got caught. I have been looking into the Marshall Island thing too. Memory Hold did some good work on it. Hi, Thrash. Hello. Hi, Leah Janine Nichols. Hello. All right, guys. Sorry, this is a new angle for me. So for anybody that has high expectations, I'm sure that they've already left if you've been here more than 5 minutes. But let's go ahead and pick right back up, yeah? Because I guess that I had already done some separate posts when I was on Twitter. explaining why I thought that Mr. Leavitt was so sus. So, we're going to look at the Leavitt Institute, which is their NGO. Yeah? Here we go. Spreading democracy. The first two words in their description is literally all you need to know, that you should be looking at these people much more critically, yeah? In my opinion. The rule of law and developing nations all around the world, yeah? And here we go. Where have they been? Ukraine. Since before the coup. Since before we went over there and did that and set all that up for everybody. They were there. These people were there. This family was there. This is a documented fact. Moldova, which specifically I have tied, for anyone who is familiar with the Franklin scandal. God, what is his name? It is the officer that, the cop that impregnated Alicia Owen. That guy, Chief Wadman. Yeah, so Chief Wadman went to Brigham Young and ended up coming to Utah. And he also was doing this with them, except for he was like running things in Moldova, right? So that was also another Franklin tie that I was able to make specifically with this situation. This whole thing just gets really, really bizarre really quickly. But I am thankful for Nick Bryant's book, The Franklin Scandal, because quite frankly, I wouldn't have recognized a lot of those names at that time. Now, I'm just going to show you guys a couple of these other clips really quick. Not clips, but posts, because like this thread is so ghetto, I'm embarrassed of it. Honestly, now I'm ashamed. I'm trying to show people here specifically what is going on in David Levitt's life, what is going on with Nicholas Alahverdian / Rossi / Arthur McKnight, right? Because, I mean, man, you know, he's in Ukraine and then he's stuck in Amsterdam, but this guy that he is saying is lying about him and he wants to indict back to the United States. Well, that guy's in Scotland. So technically David Levitt is a lot closer to him, right? And isn't this interesting that he is, you know, going out to Ukraine to help, and he specifically wants an anonymous donor. So don't you think that that's kind of weird? And he says right here, May 11th, 2022, David goes to Ukraine again. He is more than familiar with Ukraine. It's home away from home for Lovett and his wife. For 14 years, they worked in legal reform efforts under the Leavitt Institute for International Development. Yeah, that's not suspicious at all. Now here, because I still don't know how to really share videos, I'm going to click on this. Let's see what happens, if it'll work for you guys. You guys are going to have to tell me. I guess I'll pick a number. I'll pick 1. Okay. And I'm going to see if this works. And you guys tell me if you can hear it as well, because I don't hear anything. So let's see. Let's try it. It might not work.
It was routine because we're doing them like once or twice a week. So we went into this little town called Chernihiv, which is near the border of Russia. And on our way in to get these kids who are horses on the ground said needed to get out, we just got word. This was on Good Friday. Okay, so this was just like a week and a half ago or whatever. That's why we call it Operation Good Friday. So we get word that the Ukrainians had just sunk the flagship battleship of the Russians in the Black Sea called the Moscow, which is super embarrassing to them. So in retaliation, like I said, this is a war of terror. They decided to take aim at the closest civilian population to where the Ukrainian missile that took out the ship was. And where was it? Chernihiv, right where we were heading. So it was like, oh my gosh, do we go for it? What do we do? And we just kind of gathered our thoughts and prayed and just all felt good. Like, nope, we're going to go right in the middle of it. So we went into Chernihiv on Good Friday. We found the kids, got them out and got them to safety. What was crazy, again, in light of the fact, and I'm a person of faith, you know, and I look for signs, like, you know, I look for God's hand in things. I just do. And it was so crazy. The first kid that we found in Chernihiv on this operation, we that we put on the bus, and I asked him, I said, "What's your name?" And he said, "My name," in Ukrainian. He said, "My name is Gardy."
What?
Yeah, so all of that is super sus. If you guys know about the Gardy thing, yeah, I'm not even going there right now. But that first little screenshot of that article that I showed you guys, David Leavitts was, oh, like I need to exit Ukraine. Things are getting bad. That's like literally within a week of each other. So I'm sorry, Lovett. So David Lovett is over in Ukraine, right? Because apparently he needed to go back to his office to get some important paperwork. Okay, that's not suspicious at all. And then you have literally Tim Ballard saying that they've been there, right? And they call that Operation Good Friday in Chernihiv specifically. And they've been doing this, right? Blah, 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 blah. Like, why are there two, I would say, sort of power pillars specifically from the LDS community? And I'm not speaking about the good people that go and do the right thing. Those are the people that I care about, right? Because those are the people that are at risk of being around individuals like this specifically. But why are these gentlemen who have so much power and so much money both hanging out in Ukraine at the same time, right? And they say that, like, oh, like, we're saving kids, we're bringing democracy. Literally, these are literally things that the intelligence community says to get away with crimes, right? To get away with genocide, to get away with human trafficking, to get away with drug trafficking. Am I saying that that is what these people are doing? No, I'm not claiming criminality specifically. I can have an opinion about what they're doing, but literally saying that you're bringing democracy or that you're out to save the kids, like, seriously. It's kind of beyond me, this whole situation specifically. And again, obviously, there's a much deeper dive that could happen now, and it will happen eventually. I'll have to get way more organized because in regards to this Alahverdian gentleman, where they say that he faked his death and that he went on to run away to Scotland and get a new identity. I'm going to show you guys because he wrote a book about what happened to him. And it was really hard to find, but I found it and I read it. I found it very moving. But, he was a Harvard alumni and he was a page boy. He was a page boy. And I'm not going to show you guys right now because I just feel like I will waste your time digging up the court records because I would like to have them a bit more organized for you. But I'll show you guys specifically the case that he brought to court, and it was against Florida, Rhode Island, Nebraska, and I think it was Utah. But essentially what he had brought forth, and I'll show you guys now that I know those videos will play, which is great. I'm going to show you guys the news clips where they actually, way back in the day, it's in the archives. And this is why it bothers me that the true crime community doesn't talk about this stuff, because literally he's on the news in Rhode Island and they're showing like all of the stuff that he's talking about like being seriously abused within the foster care system as a page boy, as a congressional page boy, being moved at night from house to house. And apparently that's what it was called, the night to night program, where they were bouncing them around, from various foster homes to various foster homes. And they were doing really terrible things to them. And what I did specifically is I tracked down one of the main companies that does those contracts, and I laid out in Florida and I think one other state just a little browsing of all of the criminality. So many dead kids, so many kids that have died because of what has happened in these facilities. Seriously, this stuff is really, really, really dark. And that's why I say, as far as this topic goes, I may be coming at it from a different angle because I do believe Nicholas Alahverdian / Rossi / Arthur Knight. I don't think that it's very easy, for people to fake their death and go to another country and, create a new identity. Maybe he did. I don't know. He was a Harvard alumni, right? So he may have had some connections. And obviously, if he did commit any of those crimes, he does need to be punished. But the reality is that case that he brought forward, it implicates Boys Town specifically, including 2 people that were directly tied into the Franklin scandal. The Leavitts Institute specifically has Chief Wadman, who was, apparently the father of Alicia Owen's child, right? Alicia Owen, who was thrown into solitary confinement because she would not change her story. For years, she was in solitary confinement, a victim, right? A victim. So that's completely insane to me. And then we have Ballard and Lovett both literally in Ukraine within like a week of each other. I'm just saying. But let me show you his little Harvard bio. So this states, and he did fake his, did he fake his death or did he die? I don't really know. I think it's possible he faked his death because there are videos out there where they held a hearing in Rhode Island, like this huge thing where they're talking about how he got laws passed. This kid got laws passed to protect kids in the foster care system. That is a huge deal. For people that have any understanding of what goes on with these massive corporations that run these places, this guy got things done. He did. And I think that this case is not what people have presented it as. And I think that Lovett and Bowen and Ballard, specifically, I'm talking about President Ballard, I think that these people are basically like sacrificing this guy. You know what I mean? However, it says that he faked his death in February 2020 while living in Rhode Island. Leavitts issued a warrant for Nicholas in September of 2020 for a 2008, rape case. Now, right here. So, political scientist and sociologist, and I did find his book and I did read it. He was also the recipient of a personal grant from Dr. Stephen R. Covey, author of the New York Times bestseller, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Without Dr. Covey's help, Nicholas would have never been able to attend Harvard. And he is part of the Poetry Society of America. And right here, he had been honored by the Rhode Island House of Representatives and was featured in the Boston Globe, the Providence Journal, the Newport Daily News, the New Haven Register, the Providence Phoenix, and the Associated Press. And it's true, he was. I found like every single old video, every single old article, everything that I could find. Because it seems as though his family does have some ties to the LDS specifically. I believe that they were living in Ohio. And like I said, if this guy did something wrong, he absolutely needs to be punished for it. But most of this right now, quite frankly, is going off of the word of a couple of anonymous individuals and then, David Lovett. Because if you really dig into this, there's just something very, very off. Now, another thing that I wanted to touch on about Mr. Leavitts specifically. Now, I'm sure that for most of you who have looked into this, you know about Lovett and the adoption scandal with the baby off of the tribe in Montana, right? So I found this really interesting investigation that was done. It is so long. It is so long. However, this was a government investigation specifically in regards to the trafficking of young Indian boys off of the reservation with this doctor. And when you read through it, it is very clear that everybody knew what was going on and they just kind of allowed it to continue because this doctor had a lot of money. And it's very unfortunate, but I'm pointing that out specifically because, you know, what Mr. Lovett was doing is not unique, especially in regards to the history of the LDS and a lot of adoption scandals. But I just, like I said, I want to show you guys. That way you guys have some ideas. So right here. This is in regards to the adoption from the Cheyenne tribe in Billings, Montana, via brokering a deal to export buffalo to Ukraine in 2022. And, you know, this was entered into evidence as part of a human trafficking investigation into Mr. Lovett himself. Yeah. Let's see if this one will work. Let's click this link. Let's try one more time. Hey, I think it's going to work. Nice. Here we go. Yeah. This dude is extremely, extremely sus. I think that this video is quite long. I won't share that right now because, like I said, I'm kind of bouncing all over the place, but you guys can see how terrible my threads used to be. Let me see if there's anything else that I want to show you guys right now. I'll get the tax filings highlighted because I had noticed that OUR specifically, that year that adoption went down with Leavitts and that tribe, that was the only year that OUR donated to the Billings Police Department in Montana. And they also donated to the tribe. And I just think that that's really, really, really weird. I don't think that that's a coincidence because I read through every single other tax filing of theirs, and that's the only time was when that adoption went down. Something else that I had found, and some people said that they hadn't seen it before. I'll show you guys really quick. You know, David Lovett was apparently moonlighting for Delta for a few years, which I think is interesting considering that, you know, free flights, right? Free flights would be a really good way to snatch kids off of the reservation, yeah? And nobody would really be looking. But right here. So Killsback, I'm referring to on the right side of the screen. So he was charged. That was the chief at the time. That was the chief that set up this illegal adoption. He was charged with crimes related to travel fraud schemes from 2014 to 2017 per the U.S. Attorney's Office. Leavitts stated that he was moonlighting for Delta for 4 years for free flights, which would start in 2016. Simply a curious observation on my part. And that's all that it was. It was just a strange observation on my part because that would give some very serious cover. You know what I mean? People wouldn't really be looking. Let me go back one more. What are you guys talking about? Koalas and sluts? I have 8 copies of 7 Habits because I'm such a screw up. Got it for Christmas and birthday from my parents. Let me see. I started gluing them together for doorstops. Your like means the world to Dana. Oh, see, that's so nice. That's true. Please, if you enjoy this content, hit that like button. Let's spread some positivity together. Thank you. For every like, Dana will put on an article of clothing. Let's get her in that burqa. Shut up, ivermectin. Lutefisk limeade. Did you know that all koalas have chlamydia? That is disgusting. Wait, Lutefisk, not all of them. Did you know that they can rip your head off? Oh, the koalas are slutty. You're not talking about human sluts. Okay, well, I guess that that's a little bit different, right? Let me see. Hold, please. God, my threads are just so bad. They're so bad. Yeah, I'm gonna wait to show you guys like all the stuff with the Franklin scandal that I tied into this specifically. I will show you guys this one clip that I have here since I know that the sound works. Let me see. Don't F with koalas. Steve Irwin died of... Shut up. No, he didn't. No, he did not. No, he did not. That's so sad. There's this video of Steve Irwin and his wife, like when she's having... I think it's their daughter. And like he starts crying, talking about like how much he loves being a dad, and I'm just like, it's so beautiful, and I love his accent. And then I wonder to myself what Aussie's voice sounds like. That doesn't make me sound creepy at all. I'm going to shut up now. Let's go ahead and let's run this other clip. Yeah, let me make sure I didn't close out of that. Okay, so let me pause this and we will start over right here. And oh, whoop, that's way too big. I'm not going to do that. All right, hold on. Here we go. His wife is from Oregon. Her accent makes me vomit. Wow, Aussie, why are you so hostile right now? Does your voice sound like his? She's a gold digger. I'm not going to I'm not going to address that right now because I don't know if that's true, and I'm not going to call you a liar because I don't know. So, make sure the volume's up. Okay, here we go.
Nicholas Alahverdian is a strong critic of DCYF, and he tells us this bill covers detained while he was supposed to be protected by DCYF.
Hospital stays.
Alahverdian was shocked when he received a 6-page medical bill and this letter asking for just under $207,000 for medical assistance. He tells us the bill covers an 11-year period, starting when he was placed in DCYF custody in 2002.
And it shows that even though I paid in blood, I still have some worth to the state of Rhode Island as a dollar sign, apparently.
So far, the Office of Health and Human Services is not answering our questions or Alahverdian's about whether or not every child in state custody is billed for medical assistance. The letter comes while Alahverdian is suing this long list of and current state officials and the DCYF for how he was treated while in state care. He alleges he was physically assaulted while he was moved in at some 20 group homes in 3 states.
Take your worst nightmare, multiply it by 5,000. There were rapes, there were beatings.
Alahverdian tells Target 12 he'll continue to push for changes in the law to force DYF to keep Rhode Island children in Rhode Island group homes, but he has no plans to pay the $206,918.39 bill. Alahverdian's federal lawsuit is inching forward. Several motions to dismiss were withdrawn on Wednesday.
Okay, so that gives you guys a little bit of background on the individual that Mr. Leavitts, is successfully indicting back to the United States, and that guy on there, that's his attorney. I talked to that attorney. It's very strange timing when Nicholas Alahverdian specifically starts bouncing around. It's after that case goes kind of hush-hush and everything is swept under the rug. And if you caught it in that list, Father Flanagan's Boys Home, yeah, that's Boys Town. That's Boys Town from the Franklin scandal. That's in Nebraska, and that is the same Boys Town that Charles Manson was in. Yeah? So I don't know. This is a separate topic that I have a ton of research on already, so I will be able to make it a little more organized. I just wanted to show you guys my threads as far as like what I had put out already. Obviously, it was very disorganized, but I've had a couple people reach out. There is a specific party in regards to the ritual abuse aspect specifically that I have been asked to look into and focus on in the future by that whistleblower that I've been talking to for some time. And that is a gentleman by the name of Gordon Bowen. From what I understand, and I'm not sitting here debunking or, making a knowledge claim. From what I have been told, President Ballard, there may be some ties to Mr. Gordon Bowen specifically, and maybe that's why he's stepping down because of this, because this man is extremely wealthy, Mr. Gordon Bowen, extremely wealthy. And I'm going to show you guys, these are the last 2 things I'm going to show you about this. But this man specifically in this, the witness victim testimony, This is the guy that they called the Punisher. Yeah. And from what people said, he literally wore a skin suit of another victim when he would do these things. And it was not just one person that was reporting this. And he just, I'm not even gonna say it, because like this video will just like get taken down. But it's extremely graphic. And somehow, this man is literally extremely wealthy. It kind of boggles the mind. But let's go to a really old article first. So this is from the New York Times from September 19th, 1985. The Mormon team goes to O&M. Obviously, that's there. So right here, Mr. Gordon Bowen, 35 years old, to be executive creative director. Yeah? And right here, they are coming from an in-house agency, Bonneville Communications in Salt Lake City, the in-house agency for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, the Mormons. So that's a really old article. And then let me show you something a little more recent, because I did a deep dive when I was looking into this about the company that he's with now, which is global. But this is, I think, like 5 years old. But right here, advertising expert Gordon Bowen. Yeah. So he has represented such clients as Disney, American Express, Intel, Marriott, Verizon, Crayola. Yeah. Time magazine dubbed him the creator of emotional blockbusters for his creation of legendary campaigns, such as Membership Has Its Privileges for American Express. So if you've seen that, that's that guy. Yeah? It's very interesting. And, the power of belief. Yeah? Very weird. And right here, Take a Side campaign for Miracle Whip to showcase both the lovers and haters of the product. Yeah? You can tell the true power of a brand by asking, if you take a brand out of the world, how does the world change? Gordon cited the power of the Disney brand. Now, I happen to be an obsessed Disney fan, so I didn't need any convincing on this front, as Gordon pointed out how Disney's brand has truly changed the world. I would agree, but I do not come to the same conclusion as these people. I can't. I'm not going there. I'm sorry. Nope. We're not talking about Disney. I will pass. You know what? We're just going to close this whole article because I don't want to look at that anymore, and I don't want to think about it because it's just extremely dark. But there you go. That's just a little something to whet everybody's beak. Sorry it wasn't more organized, guys. I just wanted to kind of throw up some of the stuff that I had went into. This was literally the first thing that I decided to independently kind of research myself, and I had only done it on Twitter threads. And initially I wasn't doing threads. I was literally doing separate tweets, and then somebody was like, you should stop doing that and put it in a thread. And I was like, oh, that's a thing? Oh, interesting. So that just shows what a noob I was back then. I still am now, but regardless. And like I said, Derek Brose of The Last American Vagabond, American Crime Journal. That was, yeah, let me drop this in. So this is from Lynn Packer specifically. So this guy now, like, that I kind of had to walk away from this because of other things that had come up. That guy is the one, right? He's the one that has been covering this from day one. So if you guys are interested in really looking into it, he has extensive coverage. He's incredibly smart. And he's really been on it from the get-go. like I said, my focus here is specifically still going to be Mr. Alahverdian slash Rossi slash Arthur Knight, because I do think that this man is kind of being sacrificed to appease the Leavitts, Ballard, Bowen, whatever the case may be, because this stuff does date back quite a bit. And I already showed you guys Bishop Pace's statement. So that's where we're going to leave it for now. I don't know when I'm going to come back to this. I don't want to break my own brain trying to do the stuff with the process and also, you know, this stuff. Especially, hold on one second. Let me read this. Well, thank you all for being here. I really appreciate that. Look into Fort Leonard Wood in Missouri. There's an inordinate amount of cannibals coming out of that place. Huh. Interesting. I will. Wow. That's super sus, but like cannibalism is kind of par for the course with this kind of stuff, right? Like, I'm sorry, it is what it is. Like, it's really not unique when it comes to this type of abuse. So that makes sense to me. What I will tell you guys is that just to end on this, because I was super excited, obviously I'm going to show you guys, but I started digging into, I went back and looked at Robert de Grimston's father, Oswald Moore. I looked at that marriage certificate because he had listed this really weird name of this company as far as why he was in Shanghai. Well, come to find out that he was in Shanghai under, gosh, I can't remember, Butterfields and Swine. Yeah, Butterfields and Swine. Guess what? They were involved in opium trafficking. So imagine that. Isn't that fascinating? So that would put, because guess what? I mean, his grandfather, the Rev, right? The Reverend Charles Moore, he was also there. So that puts the Reverend Charles Moore, his son, which is Robert de Grimston's father, Oswald, that puts them both there at the same time during this whole trafficking operation. And now what I've done is looking through the Brotherhood of Eternal Love, looking through that hearing, I find it really, really freaking weird that there is a whole bunch, so many people that were, operating fraudulently with passports and visas. I showed you guys some of the process members' naturalization papers, right? So that's super weird. And in that Senate hearing, because it's so long, I still have to highlight so much, but I'm going to show you guys, so they're talking about like mainly hashish and the orange sunshine acid, whatever. But it's bizarre that they move operations to Canada around the same time that the process goes to Canada, right? Oh, and then Timothy Leary, he's going to Mexico, and he and his daughter get arrested on their way to Mexico right around the same time that the process is going to Mexico. So what it seems like to me, in my personal opinion, is that this intelligence operation specifically was also part of this massive drug trafficking network, dating back, if you're looking through the lineage of the families, to the opium trafficking that was happening, in China at the time. It is very, very, very weird. Opium trafficking, just like the McCormicks. The McCormicks. Lazarus, that's very interesting because one of these individuals who I've had a really hard time finding, his actual last name is McCormick. Yeah, I don't know. I'm trying. The Spice Family. That's what I was wondering. I was like, is that the Spice Family? Like, okay, I wonder if that's him because it says that he was born in the UK. But I've had a hard time finding some of these people's birth certificates. It's almost impossible. Almost impossible. But, once I saw the Rev, kind of bouncing around everywhere, and then he's on a ship with one of the D'Arcys who was involved in Ajax, and it's like, okay. And then now you're seeing two of de Grimston's, elders, so to speak, that are in Shanghai during this time under the guise of these companies that are implicated in opium trafficking. And then looking at the timeline of all of this stuff with the Brotherhood of Eternal Love, it's so weird. Yeah, seriously, Michelle's Healing Home, I literally agree. I think that the whole that they remained celibate or clean as part of the initiation, I don't really know that I buy that. Maybe it was a test to see if you would stick around. But I mean, the stuff with Brother Eli, Brother Eli was a member. He was a member. A lot of people try to spin it off like he was just there for a really short amount of time. Well, we'll find out when I get the Council of Masters paperwork and the meeting minutes from San Francisco and Los Angeles, because those are out there and I am waiting for them. Because that's going to answer a lot of questions, because I found this really interesting. It's, I think, the Manson family blog. And it's a very interesting blog. They do some great work. I just found it today because I was looking up stuff about Victor Wilde, Brother Eli, and I cross-referenced to see if it was in the Ed Sanders papers at Princeton, and it was, so it's legitimate. But it was an interview from a police officer. I believe the name was Buffard. And they were interviewing, I think, Victor Wilde's girlfriend at the time specifically. And there was a statement in there that I've never heard before from anybody else. And they had corroborated it. The officer had corroborated it with a couple other people. And I thought, wow. This is the only place I've seen this, where they said specifically that the process was also not only, in Mexico, right, in the Yucatan, they were in California. They were in California. That is in a police interview, man. Like, that is crazy. I will look at the May Brussels project. Absolutely, I will look at that. Like I said, I don't want to take credit for anybody else's work. I really don't. And that blog had come up, and so I said, well, let me just look. Let me read this paper. And it was in the Ed Sanders archive specifically. And I said, okay, this person obviously was able to go there and look at this. I'm grateful that they posted it. But just seeing that that is on record somewhere, that the process lied and that they were in California before they said they were. Because that's in 65, dude. Seriously, that's in 65. They seem so hung up on 66 and 67 and getting the heck out of Dodge in 69, right? No, I'm not picking on California at all. It just, it's very obvious from the Senate hearings from the Brotherhood of Eternal Love that most of that was going on in California. You know what I mean? The majority of it, as far as, Timothy Leary going back to Berkeley and, doing what he did. No, I know, Don Lambert. It's just, California does get a bad rap at this time because it really was the counterculture. You know what I mean? It was the counterculture, and Timothy Leary was absolutely pivotal in that. And I mean, it even says in those hearings about the Brotherhood of Eternal Love, like he was literally being funded by the Mellons. The Mellons were like, oh, you got kicked out of school? No problem. You can come and research acid here on like our 4,000 acre, ranch, whatever. We'll give you whatever money you need. And they're literally like moving his hashish from like Afghanistan. They're in Turkey. I mean, they're running all over the place. And I'm like, wait, didn't the Jagrimstons go to Israel at one point and then they also went to Turkey? So isn't that kind of bizarre? And then now literally Leary's going to Mexico the same time as the process, very close to, even though he gets arrested. And then someone says, oh yeah, the process was absolutely in California. Yeah, they went right to California right afterwards. So what I'm doing now is I am making one of those mind maps where it's the dates, because I have to just only look at the 60s, and I can't even look at all of the 60s, right? Because there's so much going on. However, just looking at the 60s itself, right, and kind of saying, okay, this is what Timothy Wiley's the mouthpiece, right? So what was Timothy Wiley saying as far as the timeline? Because that's the narrative. And then what have we been able to prove just within that time frame? Because let me see if I still have it open. I'll just show you guys. Like, I'm not good at these mind maps at all. And some of the dates, because I'm like trying to move things, and this stupid screen kind of readjusts itself. I just started this time map, but I'll show you guys this really quick because these things are fun, but they're also super annoying. Yeah. So, like I said, I've barely gotten started. I just started this today, but this is the right side is what they say. Yeah. So Mary joins Scientology. Robert quits school and meets Mary. Compulsions Analysis. We know that Compulsions Analysis was not the first company. We know that, but we can't find anything. This is when they actually, Robert changed his name to de Grimston. That's when he actually changed it. And then right here, remember that reverend, the guy from the Vatican who was helping out the process? Isn't that just like, that's kind of weird, right? Maybe a coincidence, maybe not. I don't know. And then over here is when they say they started Wigmore Street. This is the first time that I have found Mary running as a de Grimston. I showed you guys that record. And then Mr. Victor Wilde, because he got a degree from where Jolly West worked at one point. I'm not going to ignore that. Here, this is when they say they were declared. That's not true. I'm waiting on the paperwork, but I already told you guys that was a couple years later. And this is when they say that Mary Ann convinced them to change their last name to de Grimston. Again, this is a lie. This is also when they say that the process was started, but we've seen newspapers that push it back to 1963, right? And then right here, this is them kind of moving all over the place. Yeah. But I'm also trying to track Mr. Victor Wilde over here. See, yeah, they went to Israel, Turkey. Then they bought the house in Slidell, Louisiana. They also set up their chapter in New Orleans, and then blah, 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 blah. So I literally just started that. That was probably like, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes of information. That's going to be one of those maps where it's like bubble, 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 like massive bubbles, right? But that's what I'm working on. And then I'm just working on one with the process and the family members specifically. This stuff is literally going to take me like forever, but it's important to me. I think that this is a huge part of history that has just been, well, I think it's been lied about because there's people that are still alive to this day, quite frankly, who might have a bit of a problem with some of this information coming out. Yeah, because there's some really weird stuff with Polanski and with Sharon Tate. There's some really weird stuff with Abigail Folger. Because I think that the whole satanic sort of that angle, I don't buy it, guys. I don't buy it. I saw this really weird interview with Manson where he was saying that Roman Polanski and Sharon Tate were like abusing kids on camera. And that's why they felt no sympathy for what they did. I'm not saying that happened. I'm just saying once I found that interview, there was a lot more interviews of other people that were involved in those crimes saying that that they had no problem. Bobby Beausoleil said it too, man. He said that there were tapes out there. He said, yeah, the cops aren't going to tell you that they have those tapes. So I don't really know, man. Like, I don't know. Like, I think that this whole thing has just been not botched. This was all done for a reason, right? But I don't know. Because, like, the stuff with Folger and the Folger Empire, and then there was another victim that also had a lot of money with another, like, sort of grocery store empire. I got to lay all of it out, but... And then the stuff with them doing like snuff, that whole angle, I'm just like, let me see. So much stuff with Polanski. I could send you stuff. I would be happy to. The adult films. Thank you so much, Michelle Sealinghome. I appreciate it. Yeah, Utah has been under the radar for too long. Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying, man. Like when I was doing the Kenneth Anger stuff, and like I said, that was one of the boxes or one of the files that I requested from George from CavDef, because he was going to the Ed Sanders archives, and he reached out to me and said, tell me what you want. You're doing original research, and I you can have it. And I was just very grateful. But there is a folder specifically about the Invocation of My Demon Brother being premiered at the Straight Theater in, I think it was 66 or 67 when they did it on the autumnal equinox. And there's a really weird name that I have not heard who was a member of the process, and Charles Manson and Bobby Beausoleil and Kenneth Anger, all at the exact same place. So that would predate those crimes by a couple of years, you know. And like I said, Kenneth Anger just died, man. It's going to be a while, I think, until all of his, his little sneaky sneaks come out of the closet. But yes, snuff specifically. Manson fans need to discredit the victims. I think that's fair, ivermectin, absolutely. I think Roman was involved in Sharon's murder. There was the tape they put back that showed Tate. It was forced. Yeah, the Leno LaBianca grocery store man, most likely mafia ties. Okay, yep, yeah, there's something there. Yep. I'm glad that you know what I'm talking about because I knew it was like a grocery store. You can see how long it's been since I've dug into the Manson stuff, but now that we're, looking into all of this, I'm like, oh no, this is all wrong. I don't know particularly, and I'm happy to see anything about Mr. Polanski himself, because I already showed you guys the stuff with the Day of the Dolphin and Wojciech Frykowski and how Wojciech was doing research about dolphins, but then Timothy Wiley's hanging out with MK Ultra John C. Lilly, who's trying to talk to dolphins via LSD. That's all kind of weird, right? And then obviously that movie ends up changing hands after what happened at the Cielo Drive house. But even if, and I'm not excusing him at all, even if it was Sharon with adults, if it's what Manson said that it was, and obviously, he's not a reliable narrator, right? But I also think that he was just a puppet, sort of. I think that all of these people were puppets, right? This was I think that this was like an American Gladio operation. That is just my opinion. But if the stuff that Manson and the family who was involved in Cielo Drive specifically, if what they said was true, that kind of ties it into where we see Ira Reiner getting involved in the defense team for the girls of the Manson family, right? Because if those films are out there somewhere out in the ether, because there's dates and names and amounts of money that are cited specifically as far as people purchasing to hide and or destroy. That really ties it specifically into not only Iran-Contra, but this also ties it into the Satanic Panic. Because what I will do is I will leave it here. Hold on, we should totally chat. I reached out on IG today, but my message only read, "Hi, Dana." I will absolutely look because it probably went to my spam inbox. And yes, it is obfuscation every single time. Absolutely. I'll end on my theory now. Now that I've seen what the Moors were doing, specifically Robert's father, de Grimston's father and grandfather, specifically with opium trafficking in China, right? And then all the stuff with the Brotherhood of Eternal Love and how the process is just kind of following them everywhere, including to Canada. And then you've got all this stuff with Manson, and then we've got Ira Reiner coming on the scene, and then Ira Reiner's involved in McMartin, and there's also all the Iran-Contra stuff going on, so major drug trafficking. I think what we are witnessing is the early stages of Iran-Contra. That's what I think has been going on here. Because obviously, Iran-Contra, nothing really happened. Nothing really happened, right? Nothing was really done. Seriously, it's a joke. Nothing was really done. And I've said before that I don't think that Iran-Contra ever ended. However, man, wouldn't the Satanic Panic be a hell of a distraction for Iran-Contra, right? Because obviously they didn't stop. Yeah. And they had a lot of other stuff going on too. And if they're involved in making these type of disgusting films, and I'm sorry, I fully believe that the Franklin scandal happened, so involved in trafficking kids, right? And then when I come back on and show this Nicholas Alahverdian stuff, specifically with DCYF, where they're literally stating in a federal court case that this is happening with Father Flanagan's Boys Town, yeah, that Charles Manson was in too. So Iran-Contra also involving human trafficking, as well as weapons and drugs. I think that what we are seeing here specifically with like the Summer of Love, right? And this whole hippie movement, this was the start of Iran-Contra. This was it. This was it, in my opinion. But I think as we kind of lay it all out, you guys will see. And I think that it's just really crazy that the De Grimstons and the Process Church of the Final Judgment, which is now the Best Friends Animal Society, was and is literally involved in that. Because that's super crazy to me. You just don't have that many coincidences, guys. How many does it take until it becomes a conspiracy? Not a theory, but a conspiracy. Because like I said, these people were allowed to be in certain places at certain times throughout history. But now that we're looking at the drug trafficking angle, and I'm considering the things that, you know, the Manson family has said about what was going on in that house. And we already know what was going on with the mamas and papas. Like, that kind of stuff really isn't a stretch for that sort of crowd and milieu. I'm not speaking about the entertainment industry in general, just specifically, that's kind of well known, right? So I don't know. I really don't know, man. It's going to get really weird, and I just think that this is going to be an information adventure that we're going to be on for a long time. But that's where I'll end it for now. Specifically, this is what I think. I think that, let me see. The Polanski case smacks of the Ramseys. I don't want to tie in the Ramseys yet, man. I don't. That John Bonet stuff. Yeah, I know. I know that, yeah. That stuff's going to make me really, really, like, even more upset. But that's a long, we're still not close in the timeline. But yeah, there are ties to the Ramsey family, specifically in regards to what the Manson Polanskis were maybe involved in. Kind of bugs me that Manson got the blame for what Tex and the girls did. I'm not a Manson fan, but Tex did the deed. The girls did the deed too. They stabbed them so many times. I mean, but again, at the end of the day, if you're looking at it from like a Dave McGowan sort of PTK, program to kill angle, literally these people seriously always end up getting taken off of death row. Seriously, always. It ends up getting removed. And that's why I think that this is American Gladio, man. I think that Dave McGowan was right. I think that Ed Sanders was right. It is what it is. I'm not here to argue with people. You know, it's obviously emotions. Your mind doesn't really want to think that these kind of things happen, or that they are such the norm, right? Or it's to be expected. But when you kind of step back and look at it from the bigger picture, it's just how these things have gone. These people literally end up, you know, getting taken off of death row, and some people might think that that's a worse punishment, but it's still really weird. I mean, gosh, you know, look at, is there absolute proof that Tate was indeed killed? Yes, Stella Q. I have not seen I'm sure I can find it, but they gave a lot of details of how many times they stabbed her. And because of Rosemary's Baby having come out not so far before that happened, I guess the newspapers felt the need to be very specific about what stage the baby, how far the baby, you know, was along. You know what I mean? And it was, she was very pregnant. That was a baby in there. So like I said, that was 6 deaths to me. Yeah, it was 6. But I don't know what I was just saying. It's fine. We're just going to leave it at that, because I could literally just talk in circles all night, and I don't want to waste anyone's time. So thank you guys so much for being here. we'll pick up on it again next time. Don't know when I'll come back to the Mormon LDS stuff, but I just need to kind of put it out here. That way it's in, and I see it as a reminder for myself to hold myself accountable. So I will talk to you guys very soon.